Welcome back to NewsWatch. The Central Washington University basketball team has received a few GNAC awards for the 2010-2011 season. Central coach Greg Sparling led the Wildcats to a first-place finish, the first time in over a decade, and was voted GNAC Co-Coach of the Year. The team's record was its best in over 40 years. Central guard Jamar Berry won GNAC Newcomer of the Year, and center Chris Sprinker was one of 5 named to the GNAC First Team All-Conference. The Kittitas Coyotes boys basketball team made great strides in Coach Nate Phillips' first year after a disappointing 2-14 record last season. They finished 11-11 and made a nice run in the district's tournament despite a 1-7 start. Coach Phillips says they bought into the team defensive concept that the coaching staff preached. The award ceremony for the team is tonight at 7 at Kittitas High School. 3 wrestlers from Kittitas High were victorious at the state tournament in Tacoma. Among the state champions were senior Cesar Espinoza, as well as juniors Tanner Wallace and Nate Sorensen. Congratulations, fellas. Sorensen, who did not give up a point all postseason, described the experience as the best feeling in the world. The Coyotes scored 94 points, good for a second-place finish. Central will play Alaska Anchorage for the tournament crown Friday at 5 p.m. at Nicholson Pavilion. The 10th-ranked Wildcat men's basketball team dominated Northwest Nazarene to get to the GNAC tournament finals. Central shot better than 55% from the field in the first half to build an 18-point advantage at the break. Jamar Berry led the Wildcats with 21 points. Freshman Becca Clark is heading to the NCAA Division II Indoor Track and Field Championship. She is the first Central Washington University athlete to make it into the event in 2 years. She is representing Central in the women's pole vault. Congratulations. Clark is the 10th seed for the national championship meet. This takes place on March 11th through the 12th in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Now, let's take a look at our weekly sports commentary. Tonight, NewsWatch sports reporter Matt Karstens takes us back just a few weeks ago to the amazing Seahawks turn of events that got them into the playoffs. And Matt compares it to a bit of other sports history. Let's take a look.
About a month ago, we saw something really special. We might not have known it at the time, but the Seahawks playoff run was really special. A lot of people had a lot of different opinions about that 7-9 team making the playoffs. A lot of people would have rather had a much earlier draft pick than get crushed by the world champion New Orleans Saints. I, like most people, know about the magical 1995 Mariners season, but I, like most people my age, don't remember it. We were too young. We were too young to remember where we were, who were we with. We all know the late Dave Niehaus call, but only because we've studied the tape religiously, not because we remember it like it was yesterday. But when I was jumping up and down, screaming my head off that Saturday afternoon, I thought this is what it must have been like. Comparing the two teams, one a legend, almost mythical to some, the other the worst team ever to make the playoffs. It just seems wrong at first, but when you really think about it, the teams are a lot alike. For much of that 1995 season, the Mariners weren't a very good baseball team. In fact, when the team came back from those famous 13 games back at California, they had a record of 43-46. Just like the Seahawks, they were under 500 and no one gave them a chance. I equate the rest of August and September to those last 2 Seahawks games. The M's had to come back from a 13-game deficit. The Seahawks had to rely on Charlie Whitehurst to thrust us into the postseason. The next week, we had to play the defending world champions in the New Orleans Saints. These last 2 weeks have been as impossible a feat in sports as I had ever seen and we had ever witnessed. The Mariners' division series opponent was the Yankees, and even though it was New York's first postseason appearance in 13 years, they were still the Yankees. They still had Don Mattingly, and they were still the evil empire. It was still an impossible feat that no one gave the Mariners a chance. And finally, the most famous part of Northwest sports history, the double, likens to one of the greatest runs in the NFL history. We might not have realized it while we were watching it, but it is what it is. Marshawn Lynch probably won't have the lasting career in Seattle that Edgar had, but he's definitely made his mark. Basically, what I hope that the Seahawks fans take away from this is to just appreciate it. Don't whine about the draft picks. Don't hate on them because they were 7-9. The postseason is a privilege, especially up here in South Alaska. Even though we lost pitifully to the Bears, that first-round playoff win was worth it all. I finally remember what it's like to cheer. And just like in '95, just because the Mariners didn't win the World Series doesn't take anything away from that historic season. And just because we didn't win a Super Bowl doesn't take away the fact that I saw Marshawn Lynch deliver the double of my generation. I'm Matt Carsons, and that's my view from the field. More NewsWatch after this brief timeout.